Have you ever wondered what happened to women in France during the liberation in 1944? The D-Day landings, a major turning point in World War II, marked the start of France's liberation from Nazi control. This period is often depicted as a time of unbridled joy and relief, but the reality was far more complex. Beneath the surface of victory and liberation, a darker narrative was unfolding. Caught in the throes of this liberation were French women, accused of collaboration horizontale. This term, a euphemism for intimate relationships with German soldiers, was a damning label in post-liberation France. Many of these women were publicly humiliated, their heads shorn of hair as a mark of shame. This practice had roots that reached back through history, resurfacing with a vengeance during this tumultuous period. Fear, resentment, and a desire for retribution fueled these acts. This was not a judicial punishment, but a public spectacle, often accompanied by parading the women through the streets. The victims were diverse, ranging from sex workers to young mothers desperate for food for their children. As the dust of war settled, a grim spectacle unfolded on the streets of France. In the aftermath of liberation, an unsettling phenomenon, known as the Ugly Carnival, was widespread across France. This was not a celebration, but a grim parade of punishment and shame, where women accused of collaboration horizontale had their heads shaved in public. The victims of this brutal spectacle were diverse, from women of the night to young mothers desperately seeking food for their children. The act of head shaving was more than a mere haircut, it was a ritual of humiliation. Women were paraded through the streets, their bare scalps on display for all to see, a stark symbol of their supposed treachery. The cruelty did not stop there. Some of these women were marked, branded with the symbol of their supposed collusion, the swastika. Others were tarred, their faces obscured by a dark, sticky shame. This ugly carnival was far from a joyful celebration. It was a public display of retribution, an act of collective catharsis for a nation ravaged by war. Yet it was also a manifestation of deep-seated prejudices and fears, a scapegoating of the vulnerable. The Ugly Carnival was a brutal spectacle, a stark contrast to the joy of liberation. The scars of the Ugly Carnival ran far deeper than the shaved heads. After the initial wave of liberation celebrations subsided, the aftermath exposed a bitter undercurrent. Widespread resentment lingered towards those perceived to have collaborated with the enemy, often culminating in violent retribution. This was a time when old scores were settled under the guise of patriotic justice. Meanwhile, some Allied troops, far from the comforts of their homes, harbored prejudices against French civilians, viewing France as an enemy nation. Their harsh treatment of the local populace only served to widen the chasm between the liberators and the liberated. Adding fuel to the fire, a battlefield myth took root. Tales of French women fighting as snipers for the Germans circulated among the ranks, fanning the flames of suspicion and misunderstanding. This narrative, though largely unfounded, shaped attitudes and behaviors, further complicating an already complex situation. The hair-pulling war of 1944, a grim chapter in the otherwise victorious tale of liberation, serves as a stark reminder of the complexities and contradictions of war.